Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat. We are very pleased to welcome you here again for our second part of our high-level space leaders panel, which brings together again speakers from here, present here, and speakers remotely connected with us. Let me remind you, to the audience here in the room and also to the audience at home, that you can engage in the discussions using the Slido platform, where you can ask questions and rate the questions. You have instructions on the slide here as well. So with this, with no further ado, I would like to hand over to the moderator of the second part, again, our President of the International Astronautical Federation, Pascale Ehrenfreund. Please.
Dear delegates, and thanks for coming and rushing back from lunch. For the audience which joined us just now, and also particularly remotely, I would just like very briefly to repeat the concept of the second flagship plenary session with the leaders of worldwide space agencies and major institutions. We are delighted to welcome space leaders from all over the world, which will present and discuss their respective agency space programs with a focus on current and future space exploration plans. Short introduction, and afterwards I will follow up with a series of questions. And furthermore, you, the audience, will also have the opportunity to ask questions, also the people which are online connected. You probably know already the tool Slido, which will give you the possibility to send us questions, and the instructions will be shown on the screen. Let me start by introducing the distinguished panel, which is partly on-site and partly remotely connected. And in this second high-level panel, we have an outstanding and very interesting international lineup with the Director General of Roscosmos, Dmitry Rogozin, NASA Administrator Senator Bill Nelson, Director General of the European Space Agency, Josef Aschbacher, President of the Canadian Space Agency, Lisa Campbell, Assistant Director General for Science and Technology from the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, Salem al Marri, Director General of the Norwegian Space Agency, Christian Haughlie-Hanssen, the President of the Italian Space Agency, Giorgio Sacoccio, and the President of the Turkish Space Agency, Serdar Yıldırım. We thank you very much for everybody who is participating in person and remote, and I will now ask Director General of Roscosmos, Dmitry Rogozin, for his first statement.
Большое спасибо за предоставленную возможность.
For giving me the opportunity to continue the work that we started earlier. During the first part of our plenary session, I mentioned moon exploration and moon research, and now I'd like to address another topic that is also very important, legal aspects of space exploration. Well, the first question that comes to everyone's minds, all space enthusiasts and space professionals, how is near-Earth space changing these days? Do we need new regulatory framework that would enable a more harmonious combination of our interests? How is it changing? How is the framework changing? It is changing quite rapidly and dramatically. Before, the number of space objects was amounted in several thousands, but in the nearest future there will be dozens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of space objects on the Earth's orbit, not counting the space junk that is circling around the Earth. So the first question that comes to our mind is, how do we live when both large private companies and state corporations are launching satellite constellations and mega constellations? So the first question is, can we ensure joint monitoring of our space? Currently, our American counterparts are active in this. They have a system in place. The equivalent to the system is also available in Russia. There is also the Milky Way project, and that enables monitoring, tracking of deep space objects, albeit small ones. And together with our American partners, we are working closely within the framework of the ISS, and in case there are some collision hazards, we analyze jointly the situation together. Our research center, SNIMASH, is responsible for this on our part. So we analyze the threats together, and if there is a threat of collision, and this threat is rather realistic, then we issue a command to perform an avoiding maneuver to avoid collision with this space debris. But when there will be dozens of such objects in the space with rather short lifespan, because as launching systems become cheaper, it becomes economically possible to replace dozens of satellites without ensuring their long lifespan. So, in this case, the responsibility of for their disposal and decommissioning, well, that is the issue that must be discussed in great detail. And we also need to move towards a single flight control center that would be controlling all orbits, all incidents, issuing recommendations, advanced recommendations for all stakeholders. That is question number one. Now, the second issue is concerning moon exploration and regulatory framework of resource utilization and mining for resources. So, the matter of regulation of the mining activities is still a very thorny issue. You all know that there are many dubious organizations who are trading, selling lunar plots, issuing certificates confirming that this moon belongs to you. It may sound just ridiculous, but there are some well-known people behind these organizations. Third issue: protection of historical heritage of space exploration, for legacy programs. When the landing modules are sold to private collectors. So we must put in place a system of regulations, documents and events, including fundamental space research and space flights, in order to ensure cooperation on this crucial matter. New rules of behavior, considering the fact that we now have more advanced technologies and we are experiencing certain regulatory gaps even now. Russia believes that states mustn't adopt any laws and regulations on a unilateral basis, because space is our common heritage and belongs to everyone. We consider the United Nations as a suitable venue to discuss these issues. And the issues that I've mentioned right now are only some of the problems that we need to discuss, and our laws and regulations are lagging behind the current issues. So we consider it necessary to address these issues in bilateral and multilateral format. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director General Dmitry Rogozin. You touched very important topics, and in particular also on the topic of space debris, where we are always getting a lot of questions from the audience. And I guess that will also happen now. The next person on the list is Senator Nelson. I would like very much ask you for your statement. He is remotely connected with us here at the Global Space Exploration Conference.
Thank you very much. I am speaking from Washington. It is a great pleasure for me to have been tapped by President Biden to head up NASA. It's been a lifelong experience of mine with the space program. As a matter of fact, we are marking this year 60 years of Gagarin's flight. Well, I participated in the 30th anniversary and went with Soviet cosmonaut Alexei Leonov, General Tom Stafford, and a group of about 30 cosmonauts and astronauts to Baikonur for a nationwide television program all over the Soviet Union on the 30th anniversary. I couldn't believe how cold it was on that launch pad that night as we did all of us are very concerned about climate change. That is a major part of the thrust of Joe Biden's agenda. You will see that in NASA. For example, over the next decade, we will put up 4 major observatories. The first one of which in about a year and a half with India. And all of these will observe different parts of the Earth's climate, the soil, the water, the ice, the atmosphere, and then create a 3D image to help us better understand what is happening to our climate. And of course, we will share all of these results. Our Artemis program, Back to the Moon, will include the broadest and most diverse global space exploration coalition in history. Our international and our commercial partners' participation is critical as we prepare for a sustained return to the moon to live. And that rocket that will carry our astronauts at this very moment is being stacked vertically in the vehicle assembly building at the Kennedy Space Center, being mated to its 2 solid rocket boosters. And we are expecting a launch of the very large, most powerful rocket, the SLS, the Space Launch System. We expect that launch toward the end of the year. And so I am grateful to be invited to participate. I wish I could be there in person. I will be looking forward to seeing some of you in Colorado in August at a space conference. I will be looking forward to seeing others in Dubai later in the year at that international space conference. And I just want to say that having participated in a space shuttle flight, I was so struck as a politician looking back at Earth from the window of our spacecraft that I didn't see all the divisions that bedevil us on the face of the Earth below. What I saw, I didn't see political divisions. I didn't see religious divisions. I didn't see racial divisions. What I saw was that we are all in this together. And so it's in that spirit that on behalf of the United States that I come to this conference and our continuing relationship with you, even countries that we have differences with. In space, we can cooperate. That fact is not lost on the leader of Russia and the United States that will meet tomorrow in a summit. The fact that we have been cooperating in space, living and working together in space since 1975, when a Soviet spacecraft and an American spacecraft rendezvoused and docked, and the crews lived together for 9 days in space. That was an example of that cooperation, and it continues to this day in space, especially on the International Space Station. So I am grateful to be with you today, and I look forward to hearing the presentation of the other participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Nelson, and thank you also very much for your statement and highlighting the importance of space cooperation. I come now to the Director General of the European Space Agency, Josef Aschbacher, and I would like to ask him to give a statement. And thank you very much for interrupting your Space Council and speaking to us.
So thank you, Pascale, and really thank you for inviting me to this meeting. It's a great honor and a great pleasure to be there. Of course, I would love to be there in person. St. Petersburg is a fantastic venue. I've been there myself with my family on vacation, and I have just the most beautiful memories of the place there, and I really wish I could be there. But as Pascale was saying, we have the Space Council or the ESA Council taking place right now, and I've cut out my lunch break to really be happy to be with you. So what does ESA do? And as you know, I have only taken up my position as Director General on the 1st of March, so very recently. I just had my 100 days in office. I hope that the scrutiny in the next next part of my term will not be very rude with me, and they will not look very seriously in all the steps I do, because the first 100 days, as you know, you have a bit more freedom. But what we did in the first 100 days is really defining, and this is not only me, this is my member states, my staff, with partners, the European Commission, also industry. We have defined where Europe wants to go in space in the next decade, And in order to prepare the next decade, of course, you need to start working tomorrow in order to be ready for the future. And this is what we have done. We have issued a document, the Agenda 2025, which sets out this higher level vision. But I'm not here to talk about all the elements of this Agenda 2025. There have been certainly a focus on climate change, on commercialization, Green Deal, which has also been mentioned by Bill, an extremely important topic for all of us, not only for one country or two countries. The whole world, the whole planet is affected by climate change. And also in Europe, we are taking this extremely seriously, not only on ground, but also in space. And certainly my agenda, the ESA agenda, will also focus on the Green Deal, on planetary protection, on climate change as a wider element. But coming to exploration, there we have certainly also laid out our ambition and what we do. And maybe the next slide, if you could forward to the next picture. Yes, thank you. The next slide shows a little bit the way how we position our exploration program in ESA and in Europe. And if I say Europe, of course, I'm speaking here on behalf of all my member states, 22 member states, and plus Canada as a cooperating state and 3 associated member states. And we have put together a program which we used to call EP3. Now we have renamed it to Terre Nove, really meaning exploring new land, not only on our planet, but in space. And this is really the plan which we put on the table and which we develop with our member states. I'm not going into all these details of these circles and the elements you see here, but my message is a very simple one. We are working as ESA with partners around the globe. And you see on some of these circles here, ExoMars, for example, where we work extremely well and very well with Russia to put our lander on Mars, starting or launching the satellite next year. Right next to it, you see Mars Sample Return, which is a project we do with NASA and other partners, but NASA being the key driver, as part of an international partnership, as a global partnership in exploration. And then if you go further to the right, of course, you see Orion, Gateway, ISS, the ones where we have been committing and where we will provide essential elements to the global community in order to really support space exploration from our point of view. But then if you go further to the right-hand side of this graph, you see also some other circles. They are a bit less defined in terms of commitment, but very visionary. And certainly my message is that ESA, Europe, wants to continue working with the major space powers to really help exploring our universe, our solar system, and really set steps that are quite remarkable in order to really make sure that we well understand what is happening around us. Where do we come from? Because there's a very essential question of mankind in general, humankind, I should say. And this is something that is on top of our agenda. Of course, the more we go to the right, this is part of my ambition also of 2025 agenda. We want to also identify and increase the European contribution in these elements with more investments, with more activities that are directly related, whether this is the ISS or low Earth orbit or the moon or eventually Mars. Certainly, we have a very ambitious agenda, and I very much look forward to further discussions with our partners, being an essential partner in the global scale to make space exploration happen. And with this, I really would like to thank you. I look forward to meeting you in person. Bill was indicating the next opportunities. Certainly in Colorado I will be there, and Dubai will be there, because there are important moments where we have to see each other to build our partnership in order to establish this trusted cooperation which we have. And thank you from my side.
Dear Director General and dear Josef, thank you very much for your outline of the European Exploration Program and also all the international cooperation which is envisaged happening. And I come now to Lisa Campbell, the President of the Canadian Space Agency. Welcome, Lisa, and we would like to have your statement, please.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today, among other space leaders, to talk about the important future we have as a global community in the exploration of space. It's such an exciting time for space exploration. Not only does space exploration increase knowledge of our planet and universe, but it advances research and discoveries that lead to breakthrough science in areas that benefit all of humanity. Space exploration requires innovation, which in turn creates new business opportunities. Space exploration inspires. It encourages the next generation to pursue careers in not only traditional STEM, but also other related fields, such as legal, policy, and communications. Canada is all in on space exploration. Our space strategy sets our sights on the moon with the Lunar Gateway. As you know, we're specialists in robotic arms, and we're proud to be contributing Canadarm3 to this international endeavor. Not only are we sending a Canadian astronaut on the first crewed mission around the moon since 1972, but we also have set the stage for cooperation on the lunar surface. Through our Lunar Exploration Accelerator Program, or LEAP, Canadian companies are working with international partners and are developing technologies that will launch next year. Our goal is to land a Canadian rover on the moon within the next 5 years. But exciting as it is, the moon is not our only destination. We're also looking forward to Mars. Canada is contributing to international missions that help us advance our knowledge of the environment on Mars, like Mars Ice Mapper and Mars Sample Return. All of these missions are setting the foundation to enable future human exploration on the Red Planet. As we plan for humanity's exploration into deep space, we'll continue to spur innovation and create new technologies that have applications here on Earth. This is particularly evident with our joint Deep Space Food Challenge with NASA, which is a competition to develop new technologies to produce food for future space missions that will have spin-off benefits to advance food production in harsh environments here on Earth. Another example is our Health Beyond initiative, which aims to leverage space exploration and the healthcare needs of astronauts to contribute to remote healthcare delivery in Canada. I want to emphasize that Canada cannot achieve any of these goals without international cooperation. It is the foundation of our success. It's through international cooperation and collaboration that we ensure the peaceful exploration and use of space will continue to be for the benefit and the interest of all humankind. Again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be part of this panel, and I look forward to your questions.
Lisa, we will make all the statements now and questions to come later. Please stay on the line. Thank you very much for outlining the Canadian ambitions in the space exploration era. And I'm calling now Salem al Marri. He's the Assistant Director General for Science and Technology at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, and he's here with us now.
Thank you very much, Pascale. I'd like to start up by thanking Roscosmos and the IAF for this wonderful GLEX conference here in St. Petersburg, very beautiful city. And also I'd like to congratulate Roscosmos on the 60th anniversary of Yuri Gagarin's first flight, only flight, which was an inspiration to us all. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the latest updates, mainly from the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, but also generally from the United Arab Emirates. It was a very busy year for us. So as you can see from these pictures here, we launched our first probe to Mars. The first picture is the probe in a clean room at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. The second picture was after the successful launch. And then, of course, the third picture is the first image that was taken from the UAE's probe as it arrived in Mars. So this was really a historic moment, not only for the UAE or for our country, but really for the whole region, that this region now is focused on exploring what's beyond Earth, and we were able to successfully achieve this. And I think one key factor here is that this mission was not achieved entirely on our own, the UAE doing everything on its own. This was a mission that was achieved using international collaboration, working with many different companies and countries and international partners to achieve this mission and build up our capabilities and also to inspire our people and the others. So I think international collaboration is a big part of making space a success, especially when you're looking at small countries. The next big news that came out of the UAE last year was our intention and our objective to explore the moon. So this was kicked off late last year after the successful launch of the Mars probe. And really this is the continuation of our exploration program and our intention towards science, technology and innovation in the region. So this, we've gone one step further this time, where we are looking at a moon rover that will land on the surface of the moon, explore areas that haven't previously been explored. It's fully developed in-house at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, and we are collaborating and cooperating with international partners on the science and some of the science payloads, and we'll be announcing those collaborations in the coming months. So we plan to launch this mission next year, and we look forward to another success for the center. This rover is called Rashid rover, and that's named after the founder and ruler of the city of Dubai. The next major announcement we have is that we've continued our selection process for the UAE astronaut program. We selected our first two astronauts about 3 years ago, and one of them, who is actually here at GLEX, Hüseyin al-Mansouri, flew to the ISS in collaboration with our Russian partners Roscosmos in late 2019. Now we've continued this program and we've selected 2 additional astronauts. We're very happy to also say that we are able to select the first female Arab who will be trained as an astronaut and hopefully fly in the coming decade. So that's, I think, a moment of happiness and pride for us. Currently we have 4 astronauts who are training at NASA's Johnson Space Center. We have an agreement with NASA to train them. These 2 astronauts will join the next astronaut candidate class at the beginning of next year and join NASA astronauts in training over the next 2 years. And the final update that I'd like to focus on, and I think this was mentioned a couple of times, is we, the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, are hosting the IAC at the end of October of this year. So we'd like to welcome you all. We plan to have a very exciting event. And also something of note for everybody is that the expo is happening at the same time. It's starting the 1st of October. And we've managed to discuss with our partners at Expo to make the Expo Space Week just the week before the IAC. So the Expo Space Week is a very large exhibition that's happening in most of the country pavilions, where they are showcasing all of their activities in space and doing space-themed activities. So this is good for us to link it as close as possible to the IAC. So with that, I thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you in Dubai.
Dear Salem, thank you very much for the outline for the future plans and also reminding us about Dubai. And I think everybody has agreed already that that will be a great meeting and that they will participate in Dubai, and we are looking all forward to it. So the next speaker is Christian Haughlie-Hanssen, the director of the Norwegian Space Agency. Christian, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Pascale. Greetings, everyone. And thank you very much to the IAF and Director Rogozin for inviting me to this exciting GLEX 2021 conference. It is truly an honor to be here. We've had a tremendous lineup of previous famous astronauts commenting on the achievements of Yuri Gagarin, and it's really thrilling to be here in order to be able to celebrate the 60th anniversary. What is said in the introductory text to the conference, I think, is very, very important to pay attention to. It says that this will be the decade where humanity pioneers and innovates in many exploration areas. Now, this may be not something new in words, but I think the interpretation will be very, very important. It is focused also in the introduction on new business models, new technologies, new partnerships. So this is not only on the technical achievement, but it's also how you're going to organize it, how you're going to pay for this, and what kind of business models you can actually establish. In terms of the engagement in exploration programs for Norway, it's easy to point to the outline made by Josef Aschbacher. Norway is a fully member of ESA since 1987, and that is our main areas of participation and contribution. Of all the exciting topics in space, human spaceflight and exploration of the solar systems are probably and obviously the easiest ones to convey to the general public. We see that when we communicate with students, with our politicians, it's maybe a little bit of a different story. Because you need different arguments when talking to the politicians. Our politicians are very focused on usable and value-adding services from the space sector. They want to get their money's worth by use of Earth observation data, navigation services, and satellite communication. This is part of the reason that we are fully participating member in the EU space programs. Spending money on exploration is not always obvious to our politicians. I think that the comment from Dr. Rogozin in the previous session was very important. Continuation is really of the essence. If you don't have a continuous program, you lose knowledge and you lose competence. It makes it harder to conduct those programs. Nevertheless, and maybe because of that, Norway's participation in ESA exploration programs for the current financial period was nearly tripled in the previous ministerial conference in 2019 compared with the previous period. And this lifted Norway up to be among the medium-sized members of the ESA exploration programs. So why did we do this? We see that increased Norwegian participation represents also a significant increase in the domain of possibilities as compared with the ordinary programs that we have been participating in for many years in Earth observation and navigation and so forth, as I mentioned. We need to do this in order to expand our field of presence in the space sector. As a small country, we tend to be excellent within niches, but we are seeing that in the exploration programs, we see further possibilities of developing our industries and institutes into different areas. So by doing this, we get another type of political attention towards those, in addition to the national services and industrial growth, which normally is at the center of the discussion. So when discussing exploration with our politicians, we must consider that a small country like Norway and many other smaller countries will always have a very limited number of actors, industries, which solely operates in the space domain. Most of them are also engaged in other things. What we are seeing is that the development of industrial space sectors must be seen in a spin-out, spin-in context. Many of the small countries and the big nations should pay attention to this. They have excellent niches of technologies and competence, which should be drawn on when having the large endeavors of going to the moon and Mars. Technology from strong national sectors in Norway, like the oil and gas offshore sector, marine biology, and so forth, must be adopted into the space sectors. Drilling and exploitation of minerals on the moon will become an issue, and we are pretty sure that we will be able to contribute through that. So progress within exploration must be fed back into the non-space sectors, thereby providing technology competitiveness also in other fields. In fact, in Norway, one of the most important KPIs or performance indicators we have is the industrial ripple effect, where industry reports from the money that they apply into space programs, what are the secondary effects into other industrial areas. This is important to us. So I think there are three important elements to highlight within this context of our participation in exploration. First of all, real contribution. As a small country and any country, we need to demonstrate that our contribution provides a real difference, not only the technology, but also how we do it. This is the only way that we can become an important player and a valid player in the big programs. To us, it will require an improved balance between industry and institutes, engaging this industry at an early stage in order to get involved in the lower TRL segments. We do have an excellent track record of participating in most of the ESA exploration programs, such as Venus Express, Mars Express, the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, and so forth. Looking forward, we are looking at many exciting fields, providing a moon link for moon communication and maybe also communication to Mars, because we have extensive sites for satellite communication, both at the high north in Svalbard and also at the Troll Station in the Antarctic. I mentioned drilling, space resource utilization, power system, hydrogen peroxide rocket engines, and so forth. We can go on. By that, we will get the governmental support that we need. Over the past years, we have seen increased political support in Norway, and we think that the focus that we are giving also in the exploration field will bring that forward. Because in the end, and this is my final point, we need to, in order to get the politicians to keep funding these programs, we need to answer the important question, why? Why do you want to go to the moon? Why do you want to go to Mars? Not as a one-time thing, but in terms of establishing permanent presence on those planets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian, and about also showing that also small nations are really contributing to many of those space missions, particularly during ESA. I'm asking now Giorgio Sacoccio, President of the Italian Space Agency, to give his statement. We have him remotely connected.
Thank you, Pascale. I hope you hear me. Thanks a lot for having me at this important occasion. And I wish I would be there in St. Petersburg, but as for Josef and Lisa, we are at the moment busy with the ESA Council. We talked today about exploration. Italy is one of the few countries in the world that is actually busy and involved in space activities in all the application sectors, but exploration, I would say, is the field which reflects better the DNA of the Italian attitude, which is prone to international collaboration, international cooperation. And exploration, of course, is the field of space application which is more able to implement this attitude. There is no space exploration today without international collaboration. And when I talk about the role of Italy in exploration, I think today we have reached a point where we are really we really play a role as a major player in this field. We talk about contributing with technologies. We talk about contributing with experiment and payloads. We talk about being the reference for important building blocks in major exploration lectures like the ISS and in the future the moon exploration. We talk about being the leader of complete missions where our industries have the prime contractorship and coordinate and lead the contribution of several other countries. Of course, this international cooperation for us on exploration since the very beginning of our role in exploration goes through two main pillars. Of course, the role we have as ESA member states. Most of the programs that Josef has recalled before in space exploration sees an important presence of Italy. I think Italy is one of the real leader in these activities. Just in the ESA ministerial conference, we have contributed for more than €500 million just for exploration activities. At the time, we decided already long ago to contribute to important programs also in bilateral and multilateral cooperation with other countries in the world. Just to mention a few of them, of course, we have a long-standing tradition of direct collaboration and contribution to the International Space Station, not only through ESA, but in direct cooperation with the United States, providing to the space station essential building blocks like many habitable modules and elements through ESA, again, an indirect agreement with the US. And this, of course, has procured an enormous capability for our industry that we intend now to exploit further in the next steps, which will be the human exploration around and on the surface of the moon, where again we try to reproduce the same formula, a collaboration through ESA and in collaboration with international partners. It's not by chance that Italy has been one of the first signatories of the Artemis Accord last year, and we intend to exploit indeed at best our contribution through ESA and directly as a direct participant to Artemis. We are on the gateway, I think, at the moment, the main contributors of Europe. We have the prime contractorship of the important IHAB habitable module. We contribute to the SPRIT module and so on. And we are discussing with NASA on possible contributors to surface architecture for shelters and others like telecommunication system and so on. At the same time, when we talk about robotic exploration, we are, I think, quite a reference for the European contribution on the robotic exploration of Mars. We have a key role on ExoMars. We contribute through ESA to Mars sample return, so in collaboration with the American. Of course, for ExoMars and the past Mars activities, we take advantage of our collaboration through ESA, thanks together with the Russian colleagues. So it's really a wide scope of collaboration. Another element which I think is important to recall is that exploration allows also, is a major contributor to space economy. And it's not by chance that thanks to what I've just described for the space station, for what we'll do in the future on the moon exploration, etc., our industry today is capable to provide direct contribution on a commercial basis to aspect logistic for explorations, the future expansion of the space station to full commercial space station, and so on. I think this is a fantastic point of view of how exploration, through the necessary technology innovations and vision that is linked to that, will accelerate and be a multiplier effect for the overall space economy. And of course, Italy is very proud of being part of that. So just to conclude my contribution, I cannot avoid to recall the fact that, of course, a visible and important return that's had on exploration activities is the fact that we have large experience of being actually in space and in orbit to our astronauts. And tomorrow, 16th of June is the, if I recall well, the anniversary of the first flight of a woman, Valentina Tereskova, and we are quite proud to have an Italian European astronaut, Samantha Cristoforetti, who will go back for the second time in orbit next year on the space station and will be a commander, as has been recently announced. And is for us really a pride and a way to demonstrate that Italy is involved in all possible aspects of space exploration and intends to do this in future in collaboration with all our international partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Giorgio, for presenting also the ambitious space exploration program of ASI. I know that Josef Aschbacher and Lisa Campbell and Giorgio Saccoccio have to return, I think, in a few minutes to the council. That's why we wanted to ask Mr. Serdar Yıldırım, the president of the new Turkish Space Agency, to hang on for 5 minutes. We wanted to ask him each one question very fast, because they will have to leave us to return to the council. So I would like to give one short question to Josef Aschbacher. because in all the documents that have been published since you are in office, you said that at many occasions that a new, strong European vision for space must resonate at the highest political level. And we would like to know if you can tell us a little bit about the Space Summit of Spring 22, and if space exploration also will find its place among the future European flagship programs.
Well, thank you, Pascale. The Space Summit you mentioned in 22 is something new. We did not have this in Europe, but the idea is really, and as so many other speakers have been saying before, and how important space is. And space has many elements. One, of course, is the element that deals with the protection of our planet, the provision of services for navigation, for communications, and so on, which is really the ones that also create economic value, but benefits for citizens and society directly, and which can be sometimes much easier or quite easily translated into euros or dollars that the investments are bringing back to the society. But then there's the exploration part, and this, of course, is the visionary element, and Christian was really laying out quite nicely how to talk to politicians and how important it is to have this element. So this Space Summit, what I really would like to achieve is that the decision makers at top level, of course, the ministers, and we would also like to reach heads of government or heads of state, depending on the country, to reflect on where Europe wants to go in space in the medium to long term, and to really look at ideas for what I call flagship programs, to see where Europe should invest, where Europe should also benefit most from these investments, and what are the activities where we want to engage. And I would like to prepare a number of these flagship programs for discussion and further guidance and decision to see what the political leaders will tell us where to go. Today, as everyone knows, we have two flagship programs in Europe, Copernicus and Galileo, and I seriously hope that this debate and also this Space Summit being one vehicle to get there is raising the initiation of new flagship programs, and they would range a number of domains, including exploration, but also other domains where space is really bringing the world forward, but also Europe in particular.
General, dear Josef, thank you very much. I think this is also, these are statements which are very important also for the international partners. Thank you very much. And I have a short question for Lisa Campbell. We have seen in the news that the Canada-2 arm was recently hit. And so how does the increased threat of debris, space debris, impact space exploration?
Thank you. Yes, Canada takes space debris, the issues around this, very seriously. In this case, we were fortunate. In collaboration with NASA, we were able to conclude that the arm's performance remains unaffected and we can continue operations. But just to give you a sense of what we monitor daily, over 23,000 objects the size of a softball or larger are tracked 24/7 to detect potential collisions with satellites and with the International Space Station. There's also a number of tiny objects ranging from rock or dust particles to even flecks of paint from satellites. But some of them are too small to be monitored. So we've got international guidelines and standards that have been in place for a number of years to limit space debris. As activity increases, nations, including Canada, need to use these guidelines to guide the development and implementation of national requirements. And I think it's really important for us to continue to work as a global community to try and reduce the amount of debris, the risks that it creates, in order to ensure the safe use and exploration of outer space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And a very short question also to Giorgio. So, Cocia, the Italian Space Agency is hosting on September 20 in Rome the second edition of the Space Economy Leaders Meeting 2021 under the Italian G20 presidency. And we would like to know a little bit about this initiative. If you could tell us in a few words, please.
Thank you, Pascale. Yes, indeed, we will have the second edition of the Space Economy Leaders Meeting this year on the 20th of September in Rome. And this will follow the first edition hosted by the Saudi Space Commission. The event will be organized following the pillars of the G20 Italian presidency, which is people, planet, and prosperity, which are, of course, three subjects that fits extremely well with the scope of space activities. Because, I mean, we talk about space for people, so space economy promoting equal opportunities in health, education, and employment, space for planet, space technologies which are essential to preserve planet Earth in line with the Paris Agreement, and of course, prosperity, space for prosperity, which are the technologies, space technologies and the digital transformation, which are drivers for the well-being and better quality of life for everybody. So, of course, it is organized for G20, for the G20 participants, but the results and the outcome will be shared with all with a much wider geographical audience, because space is essential for the future of Earth.
Okay, thank you very much. We know that some of you have to probably disconnect soon. We will continue with our session, and we thank you, if we cannot thank you anymore at the end, because you are not anymore remotely connected. We want to thank you extremely that you have found the time, to escape in your lunch break for the Space Council, and wish you all the best for your Space Council. And we are continuing now with a new space agency, and I would like to ask the president, Serdar Yıldırım of the Turkish Space Agency, to give his statements. He's here with us now here at the Global Space Exploration Conference in St. Petersburg. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pascale. I am really pleased to be able to join you in this important conference. Thanks again to IAF and Roscosmos, Mr. Rogozin, for the invitation. Turkey is ambitious to have a long-term space program, and through the achievements of the national space program, we intend to join spacefaring nations. Turkey's national space program is prepared by Turkish Space Agency and unveiled by the Turkish President Erdogan on 9th of February of this year. The program has 10 major goals to be implemented in 10 years of time, means till end of 2030. But I will mention only 3 of them, which are related with the subject of this conference, namely space exploration. First of all, of course, we have a moon mission, a lunar mission. I think lunar missions are really trendy on these days, and moon will be crowded soon, I think. Our moon mission has 2 phases. Final phase will take place in 2028 or 29, 8 years of time from now. And the aim is bringing a scientific rover on the surface of moon with a soft landing to collect scientific data on the surface of the moon. But we have also an initial phase, which will take place in 3 years, and this aims to reach the moon, by an indigenously designed and constructed rocket engine, hybrid rocket engine in Turkey. We intend to use our own engine to reach the moon. But for this phase, our spacecraft will be brought to LEO with an international collaboration. Secondly, second goal, I would say, sending a Turkish citizen to ISS with a scientific mission. Scientific experiments needed by Turkish scientific community to be done in microgravity environment will be done there. And we are trying to finalize our negotiations with the parties. I can say in a few months they will be finalized, and we'll start the training process. And thirdly, I want to mention about
Thank you very much, President Yıldırım. It's always interesting. We see that more and more new space agencies arise, and there are new emerging countries in space, and this really strengthens, space all around the world. It is something which is really important for the International Astronautical Federation. We are a little bit time pressured, or like we were this morning, because there is, of course, so much to say. So I would like to ask my next question to Senator Nelson, because also when you look at the chat, there are several, questions which are going in this direction. What happens to the ISS? Last year, we celebrated 20 years of continuous human presence or habitation on the International Space Station. This is a very important milestone. And how important has the ISS collaboration been for the advancement of space exploration? And are there lessons learned for future cooperations, and how can they be applied? And of course, we have several questions. We cannot go in each of them, but which of course ask what is the next space station, and how will exploration in low Earth orbit continue, and if when in international cooperation.
Well, the ISS is a good example of international cooperation and the incredible science we can accomplish when we work together. It's a real success story, and it has yielded countless discoveries, and it's enabled research that is not possible on Earth. And it allows us to better understand and manage the effects of long-duration missions. And we build on that on the station. We will build further on that on the Artemis missions, enabling our researchers to address the challenges of living farther and farther from Earth, and we'll be able then to test new technologies. And of course, all of that and the procedures are going to be necessary when we go millions and millions of miles in a round trip all the way to Mars. We're excited about the Artemis program. It's going to include the broadest and most diverse global human space exploration coalition in history. And that international partnership is critical as we prepare for a sustained return to the moon, to live, to develop, and to cooperate continually as we have in space. Your question about the future of the ISS, I have argued for years that we should extend it to at least 2030, and it is my belief that the Congress will pass that this year. And then the follow-on after 2030, the hope is that commercial entities will create their own commercial space station, and it will continue that research in low Earth orbit.
Very much. I would actually like to continue this question also to Director General Dmitry Rogozin, because it is an amazing, successful project, the ISS, and a lot of people and scientists which have been done, some of those 3,000 experiments which have been done in the last 20 years. Wondering what possibilities will we have in the future in order to do microgravity research. And there are a lot of questions, what comes after the space stations, and also Russia has announced plans to have new models. There might be commercial modules, and of course we would like to know, will there be international cooperation? These are a lot of the questions from the audience. Maybe you could also still answer to that. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to welcome all the participants who are joining in online, and I'd like to say hello to all of them, in particularly to Bill Nelson, distinguished and dear. He is distinguished right now. He's going to be dear to me soon, because we are going to have a phone conversation with him, and we are discussing this particular issue with him. And it's a complicated issue, because on the one hand, this is not a new station, and it costs quite a lot to maintain and develop it. And it entails the questions of what to do about it. On the other hand, this is the biggest and the most sophisticated human-made structure. I do not even know how much was invested to build this. It's like a flying football stadium or soccer stadium that is jointly maintained by all spacefaring nations. And it's no secret that we at Roscosmos keep on arguing about it. What do we do about this? Currently, we have decided to continue maintaining the station until 2024. Senator Nelson was one of those who supported the idea of keeping the station by 2030. He recently has become the head of NASA, and I'm sure that we will be able to find a joint solution with him. There are some issues in our relations that's worth noticing, but I'd like to draw your attention to yesterday's interview of President Putin to the NBC channel, in which President Putin said that space activity must be maintained, and Russian-American, Russia-US relations must be maintained. They are important for the entire industry. And it doesn't hinder us from maintaining partnerships with other nations, such as China. I'm sure that Bill also thinks along those lines, and we can something or many things. We did some things, or many things, in fact, to discuss this topic, so that this topic would be discussed tomorrow in Switzerland. And our agencies continue doing what we do, and hopefully they will not be restricted by the sanctions, especially imposed by the organizations that take part in the ISS project. So we will try to maintain what has been made by American and Russian space industry, and I'm sure that we will find a common ground with Bill, and will be able to reach a mutually beneficial understanding, beneficial both for us and for the entire global community.
Thank you very much to both of you. And I have one question, and I ask you kindly, because we are so practically out of time, but it is so wonderful to have you both here. There is a topic which has been discussed yesterday by the Next Generation Day, already from the young generation, about space sustainability. And space debris, active debris removal, space traffic management is a subject which is extremely important, and we are getting questions in here. You know, I have a whole computer full of that. And I would like to make it very easy, and if you could just in a few words describe your ambitions. Of course, everybody wants to know, do we expect that active debris cleanup, if it takes place, will be done by governments, and how they actually work together on the framework of future space traffic management? And how can we cooperate in active technologies of active debris removal? Can we work internationally on this bilaterally? This is a question which is coming in many, many different forms. And if you have a very brief answer and give some hope or outlook, both of you, to the community, I would be really very grateful. Probably we start with you, Senator Nelson.
Yes, ma'am. We are actively researching how to bring about the degradation and the burning up through reentry of existing orbital debris. But we ought to start out with the premise, don't put orbital debris up there. Let's plan our space missions so that we're not going to create that, particularly not in that area of low Earth orbit where there are so many assets and where there are humans on the International Space Station and subsequently in the near future, apparently on the Chinese space station. So it is, I think, imperative that we stop polluting our space environment because sooner or later, if we don't, we are going to have a disaster.
Ну, я продолжу то, что сказал сенатор Нельсон.
On what Senator Nelson said. Well, he said, let's not create new space debris. I totally subscribe to that. And in order to do this, we need to put in place legal responsibility for the organizations who are launching new space objects. These organizations must be responsible for decommissioning and degradation of all space assets that belong to them. This is one thing. Another thing is the fact that space debris is generated by those who wants to, you know, demonstrate their strength and to demonstrate the capability of their anti-satellite defense capabilities that result in thousands of objects flying at very high velocities. This must be stopped. We must all agree to not to do this. Third, this debris must be addressed in a holistic manner. I recently met young scientists from, in particular from the Skolkovo Foundation, and they, they come up with very exotic ideas sometimes that that enable the space objects that cannot be decommissioned themselves. They do not have the propulsion system that's enable to put out of their misery, so to say, these space objects. So I think that we might bring together our partners and stakeholders and think about this. What do we do about decommissioning of these assets? Because, let me reiterate, in the future, this will be a more and more important problem. This is one of the potential areas of US-Russia cooperation, and I'm sure that we will find a mutual solution here.
I thank you both for this very interesting discussion, because we are also quite, I think everybody is very interested about the outcomes of your future discussions, and of course also with other international partners. I want to thank all the distinguished panel members. Thank you very much for your time. We have heard of the space powers. We have also heard of very established but smaller space nations, how active they are. We have heard of emerging space nations like the United Arab Emirates, and there will be a highlight lecture in the end of the week, on the successes of the Mars mission, and also how we actually will have the organization will be in Dubai. And we have also had a completely new space agency showing, their strengths. And I think this shows, that space is really growing, new nations are coming, and that congresses like this, where we actually foster international cooperation, is something which is really crucial. And I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the audience. We could not answer, of course, all your questions, and also the people which are remotely connected. Thank you very much for your big interest. We tried to cover some of the ground. And since we are a little bit late, I have really to close the session now, and Christian will tell the logistics. And I thank everybody very much, in particular also the distinguished panel, for your time. And I wish you a good continuation of your discussions on international cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pascale and all the speakers, and a big thanks to you that you have skipped your coffee break and stayed with us. Now, it's already 3:30, and the technical sessions will now start already in the 6th technical session room. So for all the authors and people interested in the technical session, please move to the technical sessions. And for the rest, we will immediately continue with our Global Networking Forum program here, and the first Networking Forum program will be on the NASA Perseverance mission, so a very interesting topic. Just give us a few minutes to reconfigure the stage, and then we'll start immediately. Thank you.